Hey, good morning, Tommy.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So cedar shingles, you using whites or reds?
These are red cedar shingles, #1, square and butted,
Nice, okay.
and primed on both sides.
Beautiful. So you got some old school tricks for getting them up on the wall here?
Old school and new school combined. Well, years ago we would cover the wall with felt paper and then shingle on top of that. Right. Then they started using house wrap and then you'd cover on top of that. Well, now they have this product right here. This is actually a rain screen and air barrier all in one. The beauty of it is when you put this on the wall like this and any moisture gets behind the shingle, the water can dry out because it's actually sitting on top of this matrix, which creates air behind the shingle.
Nice. All right. And you've got yourself a little bit of a kick down here.
Right. They want the bottom course or the first couple of courses to flare out a little bit, so we have to put a filler on the wall.
Okay.
And this piece right here is nothing but a gauge, so I can drop my first course down, and that will give us our starting point. We want to make sure that the bottom course is below where the wood meets the foundation.
And keep it level all the way across. All right.
Exactly.
So we're ready to start installing.
We're ready to start the first course.
There's always a little bit of bounce.
Oh yeah, and you want to try to drive it in just gently because you don't want it to split. All right, so the next shingle will go on like this. Instead of keeping it flush, I'm going to drop it down just a little bit. And I'm going to tack it in place.
And why drop it down?
Well, I want to put a straight edge across the bottom of the first course to guide my row. And I want to have something to nail it to, so I'll be able to nail it right to that. All right, so now if you want to continue this row from this side, I'll go down there. The idea of it is when you shingle, you want to keep the bottom row flush and then gently push it against it with a little bit of an air gap. Don't force it tight. You want to have a little bit of a gap there, all right?
What'd you pick for a nail here, Tommy?
This is a 7-penny, which is 2 inches. It's a ring shank stainless steel nail. You really only need 2 nails per shingle, and you want to be in about 3/4 to 1 inch on each edge. And if the shingle is wider than, let's say, 5 inches, 1 more in the middle. Now we're ready to start our next course. Now line it up with the bottom course of the shingles that we put on and snap it. All right, so now we'll take our straight edge. We've already placed a couple of nails in it. Put it on the line, but move it down about 1/8 of an inch lower than the line and tack it in place. And just take some shingles and lay them on top of our guide, and you want to make sure that you stagger the joints. It wants to be offset at least 1.5 inches. All right, while you're running that row across the straight, I'm going to start our corner right here. So I just take a scrap piece of shingle, mark it from behind like that, and I'll just cut that off with my knife. Now I need to cut this shingle that's overhanging to match this contour right here. I'll cut that with my knife. All right, now we're ready to start running our courses up the wall. Now the plans call for the spacing to be 5 to 5.5 inches. We don't want it to be any higher than 5.5 inches. And it's also important that your courses end up on the bottom and the top of all of the sills of the windows.
So you want them right there as opposed to just a little stub down below or a tiny bit above.
Exactly. So we could take a measurement and just go up like this and divide that in to the 5.5, which that's probably around 5 9/16, something like that, 6 rows up. But I don't want to do that in measurements all over the place because that spacing is going to vary over the entire building.
Because you want to have equal spacing between here and here, and then equal spacing between the bottom of the window and the top of the window. Those are the different spaces.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a story pole and I'm going to mark the maximum dimension that I want, which would be 5.5 inches.
Okay.
11, 16.5, 22, and so on up the whole board. Okay, so now when I take the stick and I put it on top of my stick down here, my straight edge, and I bring it up to the windowsill, looks like I'm a little bit too high. What I need to do is make that dimension fit in between those two given points. So I slide the bottom of the stick over until the line, as you notice, comes down and hits the bottom of the windowsill exactly where I want it to be. So by tilting it like that, the courses between the sill and the first course down here are lined up equally. All I need to do is mark right here, take a measurement up from the bottom, 5 9/16. We snap a line. All right, we'll move our straight edge up and run our next course. All right, so now the next course or next row will go right here, line up at the bottom of our windowsill, right around the house.
Perfect reveal. Okay. So this is a big house, Tommy. A lot of shingles. How long for the whole thing?
It's going to take a good 2 weeks for the crew to get this house shingled.
You better get to work.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.